Hey, man.
What's up, dude?
Have you ever heard of the XFL?
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like that show with the aliens and stuff.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yeah, you know, and they're like, on this episode of the X-Files. It's pronounced X-Files. You keep saying XFL.
You got it way off.
No, that's what it is. Yeah. They go, on this episode of the X-Files. And then it's like some doo-doo-doo. You know, that's Twilight Zone, but whatever. Yeah. And then, then the aliens are like, I'm pretty sure they're playing football, right? And so it's like the NFL, but with aliens.
You're actually pretty close.
Fiddle off. That's it. That's what it is. Things I learned last night. TILLN it. Right?
No.
Okay.
Close. Pretty close.
Okay, I have been curious about the XFL because I've seen some clips from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So
I don't know what it stands for.
XFL.
I mean, I assume that the FL is football league or footlong. I don't know. You know? Like it could be.
You're right. It
This
is.
could be Subway's promotional football league. They're like, you know what didn't go well? $5 footlongs. They was really crushed in 2007, and then now we can't afford to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So now let's start a football league. All right. Is it Xtreme?
Yeah, it's Xtreme.
Extreme
It's 100%
footlongs.
Extreme.
Tickets are $5.
Yeah.
$5 extreme footlongs.
It flows well. No, so the XFL is a professional football. Wow.
What was that? Whoa, wow. Whoa.
I just gotta say, I drank another bang before this
I know
episode.
you did. I watched it happen.
That was a mistake.
You know? Your eyes are like glossed over.
This might be a little rocky.
Yeah, this is how they actually start every XFL game. That's what I heard. Because they're like drinking beers in the locker room and stuff.
Yeah, they're like, look, we're ready for the XFL. That's how it starts. The announcers say that.
Yeah.
No, so the XFL is a football league
Okay.
in American football, that started this year, kinda. It also started in 1999.
Because they tried it multiple times.
Yeah, they tried it once before.
Or has it been going since 1999 and now it's just more relevant?
No, so they just tried it. They started it in 1999, launched it in 2001, and it epically failed. Absolute failure.
Does McMahon own it?
Yeah, so Vince
Does he
McMahon
really?
owns it. Yep.
Okay. I thought that was a rumor.
No, Vince McMahon owns it. He is.
That's why it's extreme.
Yeah.
Dude, that's why. Because that explains. I saw a clip the other day where one of the tight ends catches a pass, runs it for 20 yards, and then picks up a metal chair and hit another guy.
Yeah,
and I was like,
a
this
lot.
is extreme.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy.
If there was a word that I would use to describe this football league, it would be extreme. And it would not include an E at the beginning.
Yeah, no E, just the X.
Extreme.
Xtreme.
Extreme.
Xtreme.
Okay.
That's how it's spelled. It really is. The abbreviation is X dash.
Well, because in 1999, that was like the thing.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly. And so, Vince McMahon is the guy who really made wrestling, like professional wrestling, like the WWE, what it is today.
We've talked about him.
Occasionally. He's got that walk.
Yeah. We talked about him, I think, in the John McAfee episode.
Yeah.
Because we were like, oh, this is just Vince McMahon in a costume.
You're right, actually.
Yeah.
He is a lot.
Vince McMahon's a character because that guy writes the scripts and then chose to say the N-word a lot. Like, he writes the scripts for the WWE.
Crazy person.
And he wrote it in there quite a bit.
Yeah, he's a
And then
certified
he like
psychopath.
yeah, because he like controls the storylines of the WWE, and they're weird.
Yeah, they're very weird. Wait till you hear about the XFL.
The XFL has storylines.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
A little bit about Vince McMahon. He took wrestling to just what it is today.
Well, yeah.
He made billions off of it.
Right.
Is the guy who really kind of started reality TV before reality TV, because in the 90s, reality TV wasn't a thing, but he made this scripted like sport that was obviously fake and just made everybody really love it.
Wait, what?
So he made the WWE what it is,
Yeah,
right?
well, you said obviously fake.
Oh my god. Yeah, so it's super fake.
Put in some like really dramatic music there, like the I will remember, and I'm gonna turn the video black and white.
You could put it in so like this vignette that just slowly
It's
like
just,
circles in.
and I'm
on
gonna
you.
put Jaron's WWE dreams, 1994 to 2020.
It like turns black and white, and like you can put the X Files song on there.
I don't even know what the X Files, because I was singing Twilight Zone. That's not. It's
No,
Twilight
it's like-
Zone.
It's something like that. Anyways, whatever.
Whoa, whoa, wow.
Hold on. You can record this sound like, and then you can put that in.
You want me to? Okay, so let me get this straight. You want me to go in post, take the 2 seconds you just sang,
and just loop it.
and then just put that over.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you saying ladle? Ladle.
In reverse.
Oh yeah, dude, it's backwards.
That's called backmasking. I actually said Hail Satan.
Okay, so Vince McMahon is taking the WWE to a whole different. He's like creating reality TV, basically.
Basically, because when he took it over, it wasn't even the WWE. It was just regional wrestling. That he
Right,
took
because it was
over.
all these different zones, and then he unified it.
He unified it and made it interesting. Like,
Yeah.
people watched wrestling before. It was real before, first of all. Second, but it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a national thing. There was no big names. And he just essentially created a bunch of these characters. They're like comic book characters he created. And then
They're
had
heroes
these-
and villains.
Yeah, exactly. And then just had them fight and turn it into something crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know this, though. He
Like the
started
Dudley
it.
brothers.
Exactly.
He's the genius behind the Dudley brothers.
Yes, yeah.
And Big Show.
Yeah, totally turned it
Do you think Big
into-
Show is actually 500 pounds? You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe.
Big Show?
Maybe.
What's he doing these days? Is he still alive?
Let's see. Yeah, he's still alive. I don't know what he's doing now.
Dude, he probably like did some weird side business where he like sells like culinary art supplies or something.
Yeah, it says that he's actually 383 pounds.
Yeah, but they
7 feet
they
tall.
always branded him as like 500, winning
totally.
at 500 pounds.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they're just stretching it by 120 pounds. I always thought that. Anyway,
Yeah. Anyways, so obviously a huge success with the WWE. At the time, it was WWF. Made really good relationships with the president of NBC Sports. And so he had always had this dream of getting into football. And so
Yeah.
Vince McMahon, he actually in the 90s tried multiple times to buy different NFL teams, but was outbid or blocked by the board of that team or whatever.
they were like, we don't want Vince McMahon
Yeah, they were like,
to create a storyline for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, we don't need that. And he's like, yeah, but wait till you see what happens in the locker room. It's like a whole.
Yeah, and it's just ridiculous. People
Yeah, I mean, they're one step away from you know how the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders have a show and it's all dramatic. Like
Yeah.
we were one like board vote away from Vince McMahon
Vince
turning
McMahon.
the Pittsburgh Steelers locker room
into
and-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And he wanted to get in, couldn't get in. There was actually
the real oh man, the real ball boys of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what I'm saying? Like the real offensive coordinators of
the real offensive
NFL.
coordinators. Yeah, so he tried to get in, Even
So he's definitely like the spoiled kid that's like, well, I'm gonna do my own thing then.
totally, because here's what's really funny about that. He tried to get into the Canadian Football League. A team went up for sale. Toronto's team went up for sale, and so he went in and he almost made an offer on the Toronto team, but then he just turned to the league and made an offer to buy the whole league. Canada's whole league. They're like, well, we're not for sale.
Like,
so
no. And he's like, well, if I can't have all of it, I don't want even one of the teams. And they're like, sorry about that.
Sorry. Yeah. So
they were very polite to him, though. That's why he thought he could get away with it. He was like, man, these people are really nice. Yeah, so
let me just
just see if I can swing this deal. Same price for all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
How many Canadian football teams are there? 2?
I actually don't know. Let me look it up real quick. I think they actually have like a decent sized league. Let's see. There's a lot of ex-NFL players that go over to Canada.
Well, because arena football was big for a while. Was that
big
McMahon?
Is an interesting word. Huh?
Well, I mean, big as in like, I remember they sold a video game that was arena football.
True. There's 9 teams in the CFL.
Yeah, that's pretty big. You're right. Compared to our 32.
Shut up.
Yeah.
But compared to the country.
So, like, every game is the
How many
Super
cities
Bowl.
are there in Canada?
They play 4 games, and they're like, all right, let's have a
time
Super
for
Bowl.
the Super Bowl. Yeah, they've had a lot of teams, actually, that have gone out. They've been around for a long time, the Canadian League. They started in 58.
Oh, wow. And they only have 9 teams?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's just, what cities are they going to put a team in Canada?
Sarnia.
You made that up.
It's real.
Spell that?
Sarnia.
Wow. Okay, it is real.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I stand corrected.
There's one on the other side of Detroit that starts with a W, but I can't remember it right now.
Winnipeg?
Yep. No, not Winnipeg. Is it Winnipeg?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, they could. I mean, they could. There's places.
Yeah.
They got a Vancouver team. I'm assuming Toronto.
Yeah, Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, Ottawa, Montreal. They've got some decent sized cities that have teams.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is not important. We're not talking about the CFL. Fiddle off that
XFL.
guy. Yeah, so the XFL.
He had to go Xtreme because all the other letters were taken.
He's like, there's been too many.
He's like, what about BFL? And they were like, no, that's like it's like a movie that Frankie Muniz was in. So he can't do Biffle. So. Biffle.
That's so dumb. Yeah, so after repeated attempts to get into existing football, he just
football
was like, well, I'll just make my own.
Yeah.
And so he struck up a deal with the owner of NBC Sports, or the president of NBC Sports, and they did a 50-50 partnership to create the XFL. It was going to be a spring football league.
Okay.
They put it together in '99, announced it in 2001 to launch what would become one of the gnarliest football leagues to ever exist.
It's a spring league?
It's a spring league, yeah.
Interesting.
And so what's really interesting about it is this has been attempted forever. Teams that would try, or leagues that would try to compete with the NFL often would be spring leagues. Yeah, and so you have the World Football League, which had a really strong first season and then just fell apart, like totally collapsed. USFL, same story. Arena football lasted pretty long, but also
it just didn't get traction.
Yeah, but also it just wasn't.
It's not football.
Yeah, it's not the NFL. And then there was also this 2 or 3 seasons ago. There was this. It was called like Alliance Football, something like that. It lasted 2 months. So that one had a really really good run.
But XFL is kind of taken off as far as like I see it on social media all the time.
Yeah. So this is what's really interesting about it is they had a season at the beginning of the 2000s that I'm really excited to talk about, and then they're back. But they changed a lot, and I think they came at a really, really good time. And so I think they've got a shot this time.
Right. The clips I see of the XFL, there's a lot of people who go to the games. Mm-hmm. I'm like surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this time around, it's very interesting. Like, I actually think that if they can get this
it could be viable.
Decent for the next couple years, if they can keep the same traction they have, I think they could last a while. And I honestly give it it would probably have to be a full generation or two before we get to this point, but I could see it become kind of like an AFL, NFL thing back in the day where they merged. They have to not do what they did last time, which was really dumb, and we'll get into that. But I think they poised themselves really, really well this time. I watched the opening day. I watched a couple games last week too.
It almost seems like, to me, it seems like minor league.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Right.
It seems like for a generation or two, this could really be a feeder league, kind of like you see in the MLB or what the NBA is starting to really create. But who knows? It's really interesting to me. We'll talk about that in a second, but I want to talk about the start because this part.
No, I heard it. Yeah, go ahead. Wow.
This is so. This league in the early 2000s, 2001, when it first started, was exactly what you would expect the guy who did WWF to make a football league. It's like if WWF and the NFL had a baby, and
it's all scripted?
Ridiculous. No, it wasn't scripted, but it was ridiculous. So we'll start at the beginning. In 2001, like they started the talks in 99. It stayed pretty much under wraps until the 2001 when Vince McMahon came out in this press conference. Everybody knows who he is at this point. Comes out in this press conference and announces he's starting the XFL. And people are like, "Oh, that's really cool. They got this branding that's super sick." And he's like, "We're gonna have teams." And he kept going back to this phrase. He's like, "We're bringing back Smash Mouth football." He's like, "We're making football a man sport again. Like it's been too like cowardly for years. We're protecting the players too much." He's like, "We're bringing back Smash Mouth football," and he's like, "And we're making football sexy again." And he kept going back. Those were his two things. He's like, "We're making
football sexy again."
Yeah, he like just kept going back to those two things.
Yeah,
but had no real details that he offered.
Yeah,
except for he's like, our first game is in 1 month. Our first game is happening on NBC in 1 month. They're airing on NBC in 1 month. That was the only thing.
Did they even have players?
Yeah, and so came out after the fact that they didn't have a single coach, a single team, a single player, a single stadium agreement. Nothing was
a
worked
month
out.
away.
And they're like, we're playing our first game.
Playing our first game in a month.
In 1 month.
We're gonna do it on a local high school field.
Yeah, and they were like, we are gonna take down the NFL. Basically, like they're like the NFL, watch out, we're gonna take you down. Like that was their attitude. And like in interviews, that's what Vince McMahon would say. He's like, if you work with the NFL, you should be scared right now because we're bringing back Smash Mouth football. Like the NFL is child sports. Like that's what children will watch. The XFL will be for adults. And that was his attitude. But didn't have a player, didn't have a team, nothing.
Yeah.
Somehow, and
what his plan was to bring all the WWE wrestlers and just put them on a football field. And they're like, "Dude, I've never taken a real hit in my life. What are you doing? What are you talking about right now?"
I can't do this. And so I'm really impressed that in 1 month that he put together a full league. It was an 8-team league.
Okay.
Got a full coaching staff. Got a full team.
Canadians football league is more teams, but yeah.
One more.
More is more, Tim.
All right, whatever. And so puts together a full league in 1 month, which is impressive.
8 full teams?
8 full teams. Full rosters.
I mean, I guess if you got enough guys who are like, "I want to be full-time football."
Yeah.
And you just give them an opportunity. You call them and be like, "Hey, you want to play in 4 weeks?"
Yeah. And so it was actually a lot of players that were former NFL or didn't make it to the NFL or he sniped a little. What is wrong with my voice today? I can't talk.
You drank a bang, and even though I told you not to do that,
bang. He sniped a lot.
Specifically asked you. The last time you did this, I said, "Tim, this is going to ruin the integrity and the quality of our podcast."
I feel like it makes.
And you just went, "I'm going to do it anyway," and I'm just letting you know that I can literally get anybody to teach me stuff. You know?
No, you can't.
I don't need you.
All right, whatever. Shut up.
This podcast, for my life, Alex can jump in. You know? They don't know what he looks like. We could doctor him up and make him look more like you.
All right, whatever. I'm over this. Sniped some players from the Canadian
Football League. You literally went straight back into your script. I love that. All right. Sniped some players from the Canadian Football League.
Yes. And put together this full league.
They're like, "Hey, I noticed that you have 9 teams, and you wouldn't let me buy one of them. Can I buy 8?" And they were like, "We're not going to say the whole league, but
here's some players.
Right, we'll sell you 8 teams, sure, like whatever, as long as we keep one."
and it was like a requirement for the league, for the teams to have ridiculous names. And so here's some highlights. The only one that was like understandable, honestly, was the Birmingham Thunderbolts. It's like, oh, that's a normal team name. I'm okay with that. It's kind of like the Madden like made up teams.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that.
You just pick random team name.
Check out the rest of these team names. Here's a good one. I like this one a lot. Los Angeles Xtreme, literally named after the league.
We're well, you only got like a month. They're like, hey, listen, you've got like 4 weeks to come up with a team name, branding, merchandise, and also a team.
And also the whole team.
So how about here's what the league's called. It's called Xtreme Football League. And they were like, LA Xtreme next.
LA Extreme done.
And he's like, no, you gotta have like you gotta have like crazy names. And they were like, Los Angeles Xtreme.
Take off the E. Here's a few others. The Orlando Rage. Big fan of that one. Chicago Enforcers, whatever.
What is it? Chicago Enforcers?
Enforcers.
They just hired the whole police department?
yeah. The Chicago PD.
Chicago PD was now... Well, because doesn't like Chicago PD have their own like TV show?
I think they do. I don't think it's real. I think it's a drama.
I think it's actors.
So it's kind of like the WWE.
I think actually what they did was the police officers are on the show and the actors took their spot on the police force. It's not responsible. Crime rate has not gone down, So,
but it's
a good show.
Enforced.
It's good television though.
Here's a couple other ones where Memphis Maniacs with an X. I think
good. Yeah. That actually makes it better. I'm really bad on that.
The Vegas Outlaws.
Okay.
And here's my two favorite. The San Francisco Demons. Big fan of that one.
Yeah.
And then the New Jersey Hitmen.
Oh. You ready to get whacked?
Big
You're like,
fan.
What?
Big fan of the Jersey Hitmen.
Like, we're celebrating our heritage. You're like, whoa, okay, all right, well, that's it's a little aggressive. The Hitman. Yeah. Oh, did I tell you about the time that I'm gonna get killed by the Kansas City mob?
Did they tell you have to say mob like that?
Mob.
Mob.
I'm gonna get killed by well, that's why they're gonna kill me. Because they're like, you say mob weird. Do you remember when we were in Texas and I kept getting made fun of for saying how I say mom? Anyway. Ma'am. It's because anyway. But I'm gonna get killed by the Kansas City mob because I was Uber driving one time and I picked up a guy and his girlfriend and they were going to Anthony's, which is an Italian restaurant here in Kansas City. And fun fact, a few months ago, there was a live grenade found in the Anthony's parking lot. Like straight up live grenade. Like a live...
Who found it?
The police. Sorry, the Kansas City Enforcers. They were like, dude, this is pretty extreme. They found a live grenade. So the Italian restaurants in Kansas City are definitely run by the mafia, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's still very real, and they're like and it's kind of like where they're in that phase where they're like, no, the mafia, no, that was our grandpa. He's dead now. We're not mobsters. They're mobsters. So I'm dropping this guy off at Anthony's, and as we're pulling up, I say, like, I hear this place is really, really good. Like, I keep wanting to come eat there.
Yeah.
But it's a little sketchy. Because they found a live grenade in the parking lot. And this guy leans up and he goes, nah, that was over there across the street. That's where they found the grenade. My name's Diavante. This is my restaurant. And I was like, oh, no. So basically, he's mad that I'm telling people they found a grenade and they're exposing the mafia. And so if I go missing after this, I'm in the river.
I'll check the river.
Diavante, the most, like... Italian name.
I'm Diavante. This is my restaurant.
I'm Diavante. This is my restaurant. I opened it after I got kicked off the Chicago Enforcers. All right? And I got kicked off the Chicago Enforcers after I got kicked off the New Jersey Hitmen. All right? Because when they said extreme, they didn't know that I was going to bring extreme.
And I got kicked off the New Jersey Hitmen after I got kicked off of the New Jersey Hitmen, like the actual, like the real one. The ones the New Jersey Hitmen were named after.
We never done anything illegal. But we never done something
legal.
The The Xtreme Football League, they told us they liked it a lot. They were like, okay, here's what you're going to do. All right. I show up. I shoot a guy on the field. And they're like, hey, you can't do that.
That was uncalled
So
for.
now here I am. Do you want some garlic bread? Because that's what I serve here. It's just
garlic bread and grenades.
Just garlic bread. Garlic bread and grenades. They're actually, it's grenades that are, it's if you open it, it's garlic bread inside.
It's actually
It's a garlic grenade.
it's garlic bread stuffed with marinara sauce. You eat it, explodes.
Dude, you just bite it and you just
toss it. That's what they do. It's
That's
like Lambert's.
actually- honestly,
it's like
dude,
Lambert's.
garlic
you hold your
grenades?
hand up and someone bites it and throws it.
bite it,
Sauce
throw it.
goes everywhere, and then you eat it.
Well, no. When it hits you, it looks like blood. That's the whole point.
Dude.
Dude.
It's an
Hey,
experience.
listen, garlic grenades. Trademark. I did it backwards. Trademark. What is this?
As an M.
Yeah. For Memphis Maniacs.
Memphis Maniacs.
So they had good team names.
They had great team names, and they did a lot of things. So McMahon's big focus.
But they still have those team names. I was looking through. They still have like the Outlaws and all that crap.
Some of them. I'm not sure what the. Here, let me pull up the modern teams. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to the modern teams in a minute.
Yeah. So they put a league together in 4 weeks,
In 4 weeks.
and they came up with some pretty good names in 4 weeks.
Yeah. Some pretty incredible names. And McMahon's big concerns was obviously his three big concerns was make Smash Mouth football again, make football sexy again, and make
game in a
football
month.
ridiculous. Just
Okay.
absolutely
Insane.
ridiculous. And so one thing that he did, because he's obviously like a showman, like he's all about promoting a big
He's like,
show,
no helmets.
making it a big event.
Let's make this a man's sport.
Make this a man's sport, no helmets. Anyways, so he one thing he did is he let the players come up with their own nicknames, and they could put that on their backs if they wanted instead of their actual names. So there was a guy, probably the most.
Well, they were doing that anyway. Chad Ochocinco. All right, he went ahead and legally changed his name to do it.
because the league was like, "You're not going to do that."
Yeah,
That's
and he was
stupid."
like, "Dude, they let him do it in the XFL." And they're like, "Yeah, this is the NFL." He's like, "I'm gonna legally change my name then." And they were like, "Okay, you psychopath."
There was a guy named Rod Smart, the most famous player in XFL history. He was drafted in 2000 by the San Diego Chargers. Was quickly let go, and then picked up by the Vegas Outlaws. And his nickname that he gave himself was "He Hate Me." And so his back said "He Hate Me" on it. And
He hate me?
He hate me. And my favorite thing is a post-game interview, or maybe it was a pre-game, but a reporter comes up to him and was like, "Rod, your nickname is He Hate Me. Can you tell me who the he is?" No joke, he just goes, "He." And he was like, who is that? He hate me. And he's like, who are you pointing at? And every time he pointed differently. He was like, "He hate me." And then he just ran off. And so his big thing was somebody hates him. And that was his name. And every time he got asked about it, he's like, "He hate me."
He hate me. Yeah, dude. Sometimes whenever I read our podcast reviews, I just go, "He hate me."
He
You
hate
know?
me. And
He hate me. Okay.
I know, isn't that ridiculous? And so
Excuse me, Mr. Hate me. Head of me.
anime. Yeah, so there was a lot of interesting nicknames that people came
Sure.
up with. There was stuff like Gladiator, or of course Colossians 3:17.
Is that really what's...
Yeah.
Well, no, the way you got to do it, though, is your nickname has to be Colossians 3, and then you have to be number 17. So it's Colossians 3:17. Wait, was that really Colossians 3:17?
Yeah, and that says whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord.
I mean, I
Jesus.
knew that because I've memorized scripture. I don't know what you're doing as a pastor. I knew what Colossians 3:17 was. That wasn't what I was asking. I was wondering, where is that person now? What's he doing?
Let's
Or
see.
she. I don't know the XFL.
It's a Todd Doxson.
Doxson.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Let me
Todd
actually look it up.
Doxson?
Doxson. DOXZON.
Because, dude, K-Love would love to have him on. If he's like, Dude, okay, here's the thing, though. You could book that guy for your church's men's events because y'all love sports players.
Oh, my gosh.
Y'all will just, like, get, like, any sports player. My favorite is when a church hires a kicker. And they'll be like, this guy was a kicker for the Seattle Seahawks in the 90s. He's here for our men's event.
He was a backup kicker.
Yeah, he was a backup. He never played a game.
And, he was on the practice squad.
Right.
Practice squad kicker.
He was actually the practice squad ball holder for the kicker.
He was the practice squad water boy. Wasn't good enough to travel with the team.
he was the practice squad tackling dummy, and we love to have him here.
He was what the tackling dummies practiced getting tackled on. He wasn't even there during practice. It was in the off season. He just cut the tackling dummies.
He's just out there and he would just fall over.
There was some pretty cheesy ones like the Jet or Big Cat or Big Daddy.
Oh, that's mine for sure. Mine's the Big Cat Daddy, but yeah.
Big Cat Daddy. And so then there was He Hate Me.
He Hate Me. Ahead of me, but yeah.
Ahead of me. Everybody thought it was He Hate Me, but it was really just his last name.
Yeah, he's just like, what are you talking about? He's like, my last name's Ahead of Me. You.
Also, a big fan of Baby Boy. That was another good one. Or Death Blow. Or just Tater. So, anyways, lots of great nicknames.
Good.
Another thing that they did was they wanted to make it more like Smash Mouth, and so he changed
the band.
Yes, exactly. So every game started with Smash Mouth.
Hey now, you're extreme football. I don't know.
And so every game, instead of having a coin flip, what they did is both players lined up on the 30-yard line.
Hey now,
and there was a
you
ball.
Hate me.
There was a ball on the 50-yard line.
Okay.
And what they would do is they would race to the ball. The first player to get the ball got to decide whether they started with possession. So instead of the coin flip, it was this death race. And footage from it is crazy because the players will just death sprint and then just dive at the ball like
and
on top of each other. Yeah. First time this was ever done. First play in XFL history, this guy breaks his collarbone, dislocates his shoulder, ends his career. Literally ends his career. First play. Like didn't even play a real
I came
snap.
down from Canada for this.
Never played another snap of XFL football. And needless to say, there was lots of injuries across the season.
For sure.
From this. And lots of other things.
Well, the good thing is that when they signed up to play for the XFL, they just hit him in the forehead with a baseball bat, gave him CTE, right? So like they're like, now there's no real, harm because you've already got CTE.
Yes. So they made a lot of rules that would make football just a lot more dangerous. Lots of injuries. Honestly, it was rare that they would have a game that wasn't dangerous and left in somebody like getting hurt in the game. So it was a mess. It was dangerous football. It's the guy who did WWE. Like you expect that it's
you show up at the hospital every week and they're like, McMahon, why are we seeing you every week? And he's like, it's extreme, it's sexy.
And here's where the league got really interesting is he put a big focus on the cheerleaders. Vince McMahon. That was honestly like part of the coverage week to week was the cheerleaders. And so the commentators, his first commentator actually got fired because he refused to talk about the cheerleaders. And so then they brought in this other guy with a really big cowboy hat.
who just was like, I'm only here to talk about the cheerleaders. I mean, there's football happening, but check out these women.
But look at them. And so it was
mandated
that the cheerleaders' uniforms were less clothing. Just period. They qualified less.
The contract was just less clothing.
Less clothes, yeah. And they had coverage. They would go down on the sideline, have coverage of the cheerleaders during the game. Throughout the game, they would talk about play-by-plays of the cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Routine. I don't know.
Hey, I'd like you to cover the cheerleaders. Like, wait, but the contract says don't cover them. And he's like, no, don't cover them with clothes. Cover them with the footage. They're like, sir, this is pretty confusing. Do we have to have cheerleaders? Like, do you actually just want an extreme football league with no football? Do you just want...
It sounds like
what you want is for us to put He Hate Me in the middle of the field, because you're the he, sir, to put him in the middle of the field, let a lion attack him, while scantily clad women dance on the sidelines cheering on the lion.
Yeah.
And he's like... Extreme.
That sounds pretty good.
Extreme foot lion. I don't know how you guys.
That's what
it stands for. and the first one's going to happen in a month. So we got to get a lion.
We gotta get a lion quick. I don't know about you, but there's a lot of red tape around lions. Like it's hard to get a lion in a month. We gotta get to work.
Well, I mean, like, you know, I could find one.
I could get you a lion. I could get you a lion by 2:00 this afternoon.
Well, here's dude. Honestly, I would get a lion in this studio right now, but you're allergic to cats.
Oh my
so
God.
I wouldn't want to do that to you. You know.
Thanks, bro.
Looking out for you.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate
you think you're allergic to big cats?
I don't know. That's a good question. We should try it.
Yeah. What do you think would kill you first?
The allergies.
the actual lion or the allergic reaction to the lion.
Stop biting me. Stop biting me. Someone give me an EpiPen.
You're getting mauled by a lion, but you're
throat's
also
swelling. Yeah, I don't know what's the worst way to go.
breaking out knives.
I'm like, it itches so much. Ow, you're
like,
stop biting me. That itches.
You're like, the scratch feels good, but also bad.
It's so ridiculous. Let's test it. Let's give it a shot.
And then if you survive, we'll try with a tiger. We'll just keep doing it until you literally. And then it's gonna be really funny when my house cat's the thing that kills you. Like, dude, you come in, you're like, you got like, your arms are taped up to your body.
We just masking
full
tape
body
my arms back
cast.
on.
You need to come in and you're like, okay, so I've survived a lion, a tiger. We did a bear for good measure. And now we're on to house cat. And then he comes in, walks in the room, and you just practice squad tackling dummy right onto the floor. Just
he's out.
Oh, and then one of the referees for the XFL has to come and do the whole thing.
They count you out.
That's what they did for the broken collarbone guy.
They're like, we got an injury on the field.
They're
1,
like
2, 3, 4.
Every tackle, you got to pull their leg up for some reason. You know, you got to pull their leg up and hold them down for 3 seconds. Because if you don't hold them down, it's not a tackle.
Oh my gosh, that's good.
So the cheerleaders,
it was a big deal. It was a big deal. He actually encouraged that the cheerleaders date the players. In the NFL, it's prohibited, but in this, it was encouraged that they date the players because he wanted the off-field drama and storylines to be going on.
Wow.
And
so, well, I mean, like, how do you encourage it without being like, hey, I'm going to pay you extra to date the player?
I know, right?
That's
like,
just,
how do you encourage? Like, it's like, hey, it'd be nice
that got
if you dated
so
a player.
fast.
Yeah. Well, listen, it gets sketchier.
Because I'm going to choose which player.
No.
Oh,
Because
okay.
here's what happened.
Then he was like, you can't date any of the players. You all have to date me.
Halfway through the season, in an effort to boost ratings, they announced in the middle of a game, they said, next week we are getting an inside look at the cheerleader locker room. So the next weekend, there was this big boom of viewers who wanted to watch the cheerleader locker room. They didn't, Vince McMahon didn't talk to anybody about this idea. He just, went and said it.
He was like, hey, we're doing it. We got a week. And
we got a week. We got to figure it out. And so, obviously, NBC was like, hey,
can't do that.
You're not going to do that.
Can't.
And so, it became this big bait and switch where they, stood outside the locker room, and it was, Vince McMahon and a cameraman. And he's like, I need you to go get me those ratings. Go, go, go. And, pushed him into the cheerleader locker room. It was, a door with this really cheesy, sign on the door.
Just like a little,
cheerleader
I was going to say,
locker
like a handwritten in Sharpie.
It's like
it's a storage closet, right? It's like, go, 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 go. And then, he walks in, and it's a...
He literally just ran into the door and fell down. And he was like, what's wrong with you? And Vince McMahon's just, screaming at this cameraman. And this cameraman, blacks out. And it, goes into, his dreams fantasy sequence of the cheerleader locker room that can best be described as a 90s Spice Girl music video.
Because it, legitimately was a Spice Girl music video. They just got the rights to it, and they used...
Yeah. And so that was their big, rating push. And so they lost a lot of fans from that because everyone was like, this isn't real. This isn't the cheerleader locker room.
The whole operation just makes me feel real gross right
I know.
now.
It's so gross. It gets worse.
Perfect. That's what
worse.
I can't wait for.
So outside every end zone behind the goalposts was a hot tub that the players were encouraged to jump in after they scored. And in the hot tub, every game, all game long, was literal strippers that they hired to just hang out in the hot tub for when players scored to just jump in. And there would be a sideline reporter that would be there and be like, how's it feel right now to score this and jump in the hot tub right afterwards? Which, first of all, you're in full pads, like, and you're just going to jump in this hot
full
tub.
pads. You're going to score a touchdown. You're going to jump into our stripper soup. Because they... All right, so I want to steep the strippers in the water for the whole game.
Just ridiculous.
No.
Just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, and what sucks is that Colossians 3:17 then doesn't really want to score.
He's like, I can't score.
He's like, okay, first of all, I can't score because they're not wearing T-shirts in the pool right now. It's like a whole like.
What if my youth pastor finds out, Coach?
What if my youth pastor's watching this? Actually, he probably quit watching after the whole locker room episode. But
so maybe I can score now. Yeah, and one of my favorite things is whenever. So Bob Costas was approached to be a
stripper soup is really funny. I heard it as it came out of my mouth. That's pretty funny. I also another option would be bikini broth. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I had to get that out. Okay, so what you were saying next?
Bob Costas was approached to be
Bob Costa?
Costas.
Yeah. I thought you said Bob Goff for a second.
Bob Goff.
And I was like, Bob Goff was involved.
No.
Oof. He's really turned around,
Bob Costas. You know who Bob Costas is?
I can't picture him.
Does
he own Costco?
No. He's one of the commentators for the NFL and honestly just a lot of sports.
Yes, that's right. I know now, yes.
We can throw a picture up. He's that one who
I was trying to think of like a player, but a commentator, yes.
He was the one who in the Olympics a long time ago, I can't remember if I'm pretty sure it was pink eye. He got pink eye and he still commentated it and his eyes are just like swollen up and ridiculous looking, but he just owned it and made it happen. He's a legend.
He's like, honestly, I can't see anything that's going on right now, but I can tell you, sounds pretty cool.
I can tell you, it's the Olympics.
Did you all see that jump? I didn't. I can tell you, these people have trained long and hard for me to commentate this.
So he was asked to be a commentator for it, and so he vehemently declined it.
Yeah, he's like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, and he actually in multiple situations like interviewed Vince McMahon about it, and you could tell that he just hates it. Like he absolutely hates
like,
it. And when it was announced that it was coming back, Bob Costas just was like. He's like, the XFL is coming back. Lest we forget, the XFL was rancid garbage, and went on to call it like a dirty strip club with football in it.
I mean, that sounds pretty fair.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it was. And so the XFL was a weird league that focused a lot more on just being a mess.
Yeah,
like being a reality TV show that also played football. Not to mention, the teams only practiced for a month before they launched the season, and so they were bad. Like, they were really bad. They didn't know how to play together.
I'm also kind of like, especially with the whole death race thing, like you're trying to get ratings at the expense of actual people's health and safety.
And that was right before the NFL really turned to like the concussion protocol and being safe. Like it really like transformed after that. And I think this probably played a part in that where they were like,
where they were like, oh, that's
really bad.
That's not okay.
Yeah. And so it was at the expense of the players' health, at the expense of all the cheerleaders and the strippers, and like it was bad all around. Everything about it was just it was a mess. It was an absolute mess.
I don't like it.
And even beyond that, it was just like there was just a lot of things that happened with the team that was just ridiculous. Like before the league launched, so they launched in the spring. Before the league launched, they had a plan where they were going to fly XFL blimp over an Oakland Raiders playoff game, and which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But the blimp.
But Raiders fans will shoot it.
Well, the blimp crashed into a seafood restaurant before it got there. And like the perfect just example of what this was going to become was just a blimp fire. like it literally.
Well, it's because he was like a pilot.
It's a balloon.
I've got scantily clad cheerleaders who can fly it. Put them on there.
Yeah, dangle them out the windows.
Because if they're dangling out the windows above the Oakland Raiders stadium, that's going to get viewers.
Yeah, exactly.
And they crash into a seafood restaurant.
And it's just, there's these pictures of the blimp just like dangling over this seafood restaurant in Oakland.
Did anybody get hurt?
I don't think so.
You think they slowly crashed into a seafood restaurant? You think they just went,
blimps are balloons.
They're balloons? They can go down pretty fast.
Yeah, I don't know, actually. We should probably find out if anybody did get hurt. But let me see if I can get a big picture. Yeah, here it is, just dangling up on top of this.
Yeah, it looks like they're probably fine.
Yeah, this little seafood restaurant. I don't know how that happens. But anyways, so that was that.
Just nose dives down into a seafood restaurant.
Yep.
It looks like they were probably trying to get the water.
You know what would make this better? If the blimp was wet.
Well, no. I mean, it's a safer landing. Not like, let's... You know how the players jump into a hot tub? Let's just send the
blimp.
Let's send it into the bay. No.
That's why it starts with a B. Bay blimp. Another big thing that was just a picture of what this season would be was the first game of the second week of the XFL. The NBC generators that were fueling the broadcast in the middle of the second quarter ran out of gas because nobody thought to make sure it had fuel, so that it was just a blackout in the middle of the game, and nobody could see what it was. The people at NBC.
That happened this season with Chiefs.
Did it really?
Yeah, one of the Chiefs games. I think it was CBS. Just in the middle of the third quarter.
I remember that.
You remember that?
I remember
I was
that.
in Los Angeles.
What was the reason for it?
I think it was like a power thing.
Yeah. And they spent all this time trying to figure it out.
Not like a power thing, but like the powers that be.
The power. Fight the power.
McMahon cut the cords. He's like, CBS, brr. The cheerleaders have too many clothes on.
Nobody thought to check the fuel for a while, so it was out for a long time.
Good.
Finally went and checked the fuel, realized it was out of fuel, and so the employees of NBC went and siphoned gas from cars in the parking lot to fuel the power. What? It's just the least classy football league that's ever existed.
Those are NBC employees, though. Those are people out there with tubes going. It's just like,
what?
XFL just brings the worst out in people.
Exactly. It's just crazy. But
oh my gosh.
All that to say, the mess that the XFL was, it only lasted a season. Because after 1 year, NBC was like, we cannot be involved with this anymore.
Right, yeah. NBC was like, our employees actually didn't like siphoning the gas.
Yeah. And so NBC backed out. They went on. They tried to get deals on some smaller networks, and they did, but it didn't last. After a season, it was gone.
Okay.
And so, but there were some things that happened.
What networks did they go to?
They went to, it was UPN and TNN. And so,
okay.
I
could see Spike TV picking that up.
I could see Spike TV picking that up, but Spike, I don't think Spike was around in 2001. Were they?
Yeah.
They started in. Oh, they're a part of Paramount. Interesting. Paramount was one that picked them up because UPN was a Paramount network.
Okay.
So, in a weird roundabout way, they did.
Spike TV.
But anyways, So
they went away for a while.
Yeah, but there was some things that they did that were significant. They launch day had 50 million viewers. Their marketing on the front end promised this big.
That's almost as many as our podcast.
Almost as big as the podcast. To put it in perspective, this the biggest Super Bowl ever recorded was 114 million. And this launched with 50 million.
Oh, wow, okay.
And 114 is a Super Bowl. So
right.
A really successful launch. They were filling stadiums, and they were playing in pro stadiums. They played in the Chicago Bears Stadium. The Enforcers played in Soldier Field, and they were filling it. And so it was really at the start of the season. At the start of the season, they filled it. I don't really know. Actually.
Yeah, I'm thinking like if another company comes along and is like, we want to start a football league. I don't know why the team would let that happen.
I don't know, actually. That's interesting.
Maybe they just knew it was gonna be a dumpster fire, and they were
could make a lot
like,
of money
yeah,
off of it.
please do that.
I mean, they made money from the rent, so
Right. And they
And
were
then-
like, oh, you're gonna put strippers in a hot tub?
Yeah,
And you're
sure.
gonna put that on TV?
Yeah, we'll do that.
yeah. You go ahead and do that, please.
And
They're like,
we'll
actually, use our channels.
pay us for it.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll
yeah.
broadcast it.
Yep. So they tried it.
Didn't work.
Didn't work at all. Some things that they did though that like changed the game that the NFL actually did, like the sky cam that we have now, the camera on the tether ropes.
Yeah.
That was the XFL's idea. Like
Right.
they started that.
That looks like the video game.
Yeah, exactly. And then like miking the players, XFL started that. That was their idea.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, and so a lot, like even just having reporters on the sideline, XFL started that. Before the XFL, there was no reporters on the sideline, and so like there's a lot of like
But
broadcast
XFL,
stuff.
they ask questions in the middle of the game, right?
Yeah, that's a new thing. But there's a lot of broadcast stuff that they did that the NFL was like, oh, that's kind of cool. We'll do that, and so it kind of changed the game and made it a little bit more enjoyable to watch.
Sure.
Nonetheless, everything else they did was ridiculous and just spelled its
Well,
demise.
it's kind of like our last episode. You can have 100 good ideas, or you can have 100 ideas, and if 15 of them are good, that doesn't mean you had 100 good ideas.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And so XFL dies. Jim McMahon stays out of football for a long time. And then in 2018, he comes back out and says he's bringing the XFL back. And so, of course, everybody was like, oh, gosh, this is going to be a mess. It's like, oh, we're bringing back one of the gnarliest football leagues to ever exist.
Let's go. Okay.
Yeah. And so, but this time, it really seemed like he learned from his mistakes. And so he got a pretty sharp commissioner, a guy named Oliver Luck, who he was.
Andrew's dad.
Yeah, exactly. He actually was he spent 5 years in the NFL as a quarterback for the Oilers. He was an executive with the NCAA. Like he has a really, really good resume where he managed a lot of different sports organizations, was in the NFL. Sharp, like a sharp guy.
Yeah.
And he's kind of directing
Like
all the
actual
operations.
experience with it.
Yeah, like can actually knows what he's doing, you know?
Rather than just like, let's add football to
Yeah.
the WWE.
Yeah, exactly. And so what they're doing now is they're positioning it way better. And it's not like they're like, oh, we're bringing back Smash Mouth football. We're making football sexy again. Like all that stuff is gone. They're not doing any of that stuff.
Right.
Instead, what they're doing is they're trying to make a league that is has simple, understandable rules, is faster paced and more enjoyable to watch. That happens in the springtime. And so they've made a lot of really simple rules, like the catch. Right now, one of the most interesting things in the NFL is like you never know when something's a catch. Like you watch a game,
Right.
90% of the game is, did he catch that ball?
Right.
And so like they took away all that. They made the catch. It's super simple rules. You know that's a catch or that's not a catch. And
How?
So like
If it's inbounds.
yeah, like literally, if a part of your body touches the ground when you catch the ball, then it's a catch. And so like it doesn't have to be both feet in bounds. It could be your pinky touches and then you catch like this. It's a catch. And so it's like it only focuses on the ball going into your hands. Basically, is all it is.
So if you're falling out of bounds and you reach over the line.
Yeah, it's a catch.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's just different stuff like that to make the game a little bit more intense and fast paced. Like they call it the double forward pass. So you can throw the ball to a wide receiver and he can then throw the ball to somebody else as long as it's forward, which is really interesting. And so just a lot of different stuff to create bigger plays and make it faster paced. The play clock the play clock's only 25 seconds instead of 40 in the NFL. So it moves quicker.
I always thought 40 was way too long.
Yeah, it's really long. And so everything about it, they've paced it to where the game goes way faster than the NFL. It gets done in like an hour or 2 hours, where the NFL's like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And so it's way faster.
Well, that's because the NFL turned into a commercial.
Yeah, it's 100% a commercial.
Yeah.
They also they know that there's just a lot of controversy around the refs now. So what they did is they really vetted the refs, got some really good refs, and the refs are mic'd. And so you hear everything they're talking about.
The whole time?
The whole time. Like if the refs are talking through a decision, you hear all of them talking through the decision. And there's even, they call it a sky judge. And so there's a ref up in the booth with a camera screen, and they're watching all the different angles, and they're doing the rewinds. And so whatever the refs call on the field, he always has the power to overrule and say, no, I see this better. It's actually this. And you can hear that conversation happen, which is very interesting. And then they did the same thing with players, and coaches are now mic'd. So you can hear the coaches make play calls and talking to their players on the field. And it's really entertaining because sometimes you're like, well, that was weird.
The interaction's weird?
Yeah, the interaction's weird. So like they'll be calling out a player or like being like, what the heck were you doing? You're in the wrong spot. And like then the commentators will talk about what the coach was saying, or like the coach. They have really good commentators. Like NFL commentators are on it. They had Greg Olson, Panthers tight end, was a commentator, and he was talking a lot about the play calls and what the calls were.
So they did away with. They focused more on like, okay, let's make this quick paced, fun, more interactive, basically.
Yeah.
But did they do away with like the weird?
Yeah, so there's
stuff?
none of the weird, like the rules are safer actually. They got rid of like all the intense rules. It's actually less likely to get injured with their rules than it is in the NFL now.
Sure.
And so their rules are safer.
I don't know, big hits are still.
I mean, big hits are definitely still in it. Like,
yeah.
But like for example, the kickoff, your kicking team and your receiving team are now lined up 5 yards apart from each other. Your receiver lines up like 15 yards back from them. Your kicker lines up like 30 yards back from them. And so then they kick it, and the kicking and the defending team can't hit each other until
he catches the ball. Nice.
So you're not running the full field and like having this full field collision.
Right.
And so there's a lot of stuff just like that where it's little tweaks that make it less intense impacts. You know, there's still obviously it's tackle football, so it's dangerous, but it's not like it has been. It's safer than the NFL.
Right.
And the on-field interviews is like my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, that's where I've been noted. That's the clips I've been seeing.
Yeah,
is like as they're going into the locker room. I saw it the other day because one of the quarterbacks was like, yeah, this sucks. You know, we gotta figure something else out.
Yeah,
as he's going into the locker room,
and they'll do it like literally on the sideline. This guy missed a
kick. That
kick.
was the whole thing. Yeah, like literally like he comes back from halftime.
Yeah.
And they benched him because he said that going into the locker room. Mm-hmm. And so then they're interviewing him right after he got benched.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, so we heard you just got benched. And it's like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Like this kicker missed the kick and they just ran over and we're like, hey, so you
missed it. Yeah.
But
he was like, yeah, thanks. Well. I knew that.
And it's really
they're like, our sky judge said you didn't make it. Like, so just wanted to let you know you didn't make. How do you feel about that? That's the drama people want.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting because, like, I mean,
not hey, you missed that kick. Also, how high is that cheerleader over there? They don't care about that. They're just like, hey, you missed the kick. Hey, you know how you've worked your entire life to be on this moment and get paid to be a full-time football player, and then you just mess that up. How do you feel?
How do you feel?
That's what we want to know.
That's what we want. And so it's really interesting because it's like there's moments where it's interesting like that, but there's also moments where it's a total miss. Like this one guy, it was like a center, and they went up and then he talked to him, and he's like, he just cussed. He's just like, we need to get this effing under control. and
they were like,
they missed the bleep entirely. Like just like live TV. Just
good thing this is Spike TV.
It's on ABC and CBS. Like it's like legitimate, like
on real TV.
Yeah, it's the same channels that the NFL.
I'm surprised they picked it up. Did they do a season last year?
No, this is their first season back, and so the way they did it.
How did they convince the people to do that? You know.
Well, I don't know.
Basically, they went in the meeting. They were like, first of all, no strippers.
First of all, we did this way bad last time.
And then NBC was like, we're out.
We're out.
CBS, ABC, you can have them.
You can have them. No, they did a lot of things. Like one thing that they did was they said that there would be no criminality in the league. If you have any sort of criminal record, you're out. You can't get drafted. You can't get picked up. You'll be kicked off the team if you have any sort of criminal record. And so in a time when there's so many players that are just like breaking all sorts of laws,
above the law kind of stuff.
And then like with the scandals with referees lately of just like everybody's like, oh, the NFL's rigged. And like there's just all sorts of things where they're positioning themselves really well for all these people that are like not into the NFL right now because of all the stuff that's going on with criminality, with the refs, even like the Kaepernick stuff. Like
I was gonna say, they actually during the national anthem they nail boards into the players' legs so they can't kneel. Like even if they want to, they're like they can't kneel.
It's actually like a league policy. They can't take a knee during, and so they're
well, it's actually a league policy. Like they don't even play the national anthem. They actually just play Smash Mouth's All-Star. They say, everyone please rise for Smash Mouth's All-Star.
Everyone's like, hey
Everyone sings along, and then
like
at the
tearing
end,
up.
and then at the end, they go, "Oh, the glitters is gold, like the Chiefs," you know. So it's like a whole. It's pretty. It's pretty wild. That's pretty stupid.
But yeah, so I think they timed it really well in a time when the NFL's got a lot of heat right now.
Yeah.
They're coming in and making a league that's like
They're
broadcasted very interesting.
It seems like they're making the league that people have been asking for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Of just like, hey, we hate this about the NFL, and then Roger Goodell's like, but my sponsors like it.
Yeah, and Vince McMahon comes in. He's like, everything that the NFL's failing now, I'm going to do that. Everything that we failed at before, we're not going to do that. And everything that was a win, we're going to do that.
We're not going to do that yet. We're going to bring it back. Like he's still going to try to do the cheerleader thing.
he's
going to wait a few years. Yeah, he's
waiting for the hot tub
so
endorsement.
let's get established. Let's get some people on board, and then take their clothes off. And you're like, no, let's not. He's like, let's do it. Yeah. It's it stresses me out.
No, but it's actually very, very interesting. I'm excited to see how it rolls out because they have they've got it set up well. They've got the teams. Their first week was a big week. They were filling. They're in smaller stadiums, but they were like 20,000 people in attendance at all their games.
Yeah, I've noticed people are showing up.
Yeah, people are showing up. People are watching it.
People have merchandise.
Yeah, and you like go online and people are talking about it online and watching it, and it's actually interesting. Now, to see how it goes, like who knows? I think it's broadcasted really well. I think it has.
Do you
potential.
think it will become a feeder league for?
I think that's definitely like the most likely possibility for them. I think it's timed really well, being in the spring. It starts the week after the Super Bowl, and so it's like right when you're like, oh, I missed football. Like you have an option, something else comes back.
Sure.
And it's pretty good. Like they spent 2 years getting their teams together and practicing and training their teams before they came in.
You got 2 years to make a team now.
Yeah, instead of 1 month.
And they were like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, and so they actually were able to build good teams that like these players are like it's real football. Like it's not the NFL caliber. You're not seeing like Tom Brady on the field, but you're seeing good athletes.
Yeah,
like play. It's kind of like watching college. Like they're good.
It's kind of like I feel like the reason I like feeder leagues, the reason I like minor league baseball, is that they're playing like they've got something to prove.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And so if there's hope that maybe they'll get pulled up to the NFL, or because I'm assuming the pay is a lot less, obviously. Because they can't deal out $200 million contracts.
Yeah, I believe it's like $4,000 a game and $3,000 plus for wins.
Interesting. So they're making probably like 60, 70 a year.
Yeah. So they're paying the bills, but they're not rich at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, and if you live in Los Angeles, that's pretty tough.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, so like, can you imagine being an XFL player in LA or San Francisco, like a city that's just insane to live in, because of the cost of living? Yeah, and you're making this money, it's like $60 a year, and then during the off season, you like have to serve at a cafe. Or something. It was like, yeah, I'm training right now, but also like, I'm playing the XFL. And someone's like, that's really great. Can I actually have cream for my coffee? And they're like, yeah.
You like walk into Taco Bell, and you're like, oh my God, bro, he hate me.
That's Hedame. Right there. And then like in Taco Bell, a reporter comes up and goes, hey, I noticed that you're working at Taco Bell right now. Just wanted to know how you feel about that. And it's like, dude, that's why I watch the XFL.
It is so interesting to see just like the way they produce it and everything. It's something. But I think it's got a chance to be really, really cool and become like a pretty big deal. But the NFL is it's got that legacy, like it's almost like a religion for some people. Like it really is. Like you watch The Good Place, yes. And like it's funny watching like it'd be like Bortles.
Yeah,
but like that's real. Like there's people who are actually like that. Even me, I kind of. I'm not gonna lie, like I teared up when I went to Soldier Field and like watched that game, and I'm like, why do I care this much? Like this is a game.
Well, dude, I mean, like when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl,
yeah, it was a big deal.
It was just a magical moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people. I think mostly that's because sports unify people. Yeah. They bring people together. Yeah, it's something that you can believe in and hope for, True. And and the rest of life isn't have those things. So belief and hope.
But I think the NFL does that in an interesting way, just because like you look at like any, I don't know, you look at
But
like
the NFL comes with decades of that.
Yeah,
and
I think that's
why
where
it matters a lot now.
I agree. I think it's the legacy.
Yeah, because your dad is a Bears
It's
fan.
generational. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and so I grew up with a Chiefs light switch cover.
Yeah.
And so like in my room, and I grew up like I got a Chiefs helmet and uniform for my birthday one day.
Yeah.
And I grew up pretending to be a Chiefs player.
Yeah.
So to get to play in the Super Bowl was really great for me.
That's the thing. The day after they won, I went to the gym, and this guy was like, man, how about that game last night? And I was
That's
like,
why I was mad that you stood in front of
cool.
me at the parade, by
And
the way. You know,
You're taller than me. You could see.
Yeah, but I'm a Chiefs fan, and you're a Bears fan, and we were out there in the cold, and I don't care that your wife was right there, and you were standing closer to your wife. Let me sneak in between, you know?
I waited out there and saved a spot for you in the cold for 4 hours, and you showed up at the last hour.
I showed up like 15 minutes before the parade. That was awesome. Thanks for doing that.
That's a good point. Like, we stood out there in the freezing cold while it was snowing for hours just to watch these guys roll by in a bus.
Yeah.
Just to see them hold up this hunk of silver that I felt my heart leap when I saw it. Like, it
I was like
15 minutes away. I was like, that's the Lombardi trophy. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Like,
I have
how
a crush
stupid
on it.
is that?
Can you pass it a note and tell it that I want to
tell it? Oh my gosh, that's real. That's the thing.
Yeah. And it came out of nowhere. They did not make a big deal about it either. It was just one player on the top of the bus that just turned around and was like, I got it. And we were all like, that's the trophy right there. He's got it. That was pretty early in the parade, too.
After that,
it was kind of like,
shocking. I was like,
we saw Mahomes.
What are we waiting for now?
Saw the trophy. And
where's the marketing team?
Where's the marketing team going to roll drive by those buses, and you're like, all right, well, go home now. So I think that as time passes, then
that's what I'm saying. Like all these other leagues, have only been around.
Sporting KC, like the soccer team here. 10 years ago it was the Wizards then.
Exactly.
But they've branded really well in the past few years and become a bigger thing in the last 5.
I think that's my point. Is everybody's tried to take on the NFL. With the Arena League, the USFL, the WFL, the AFL. Like, there's been so many different things that have tried to take on the NFL, but they've only been able to sustain their league for a couple years.
Sure.
And, like, they had a small following. But what you need to take on the NFL, like, the NFL's got a 100-year legacy. There's people who has been in their family as far back as they can remember.
I think what the XFL seems to be trying to do is to not take over and not replace. They don't want to compete.
Yeah.
They want to add to.
Wise. Yeah, that's where they're wise.
Smart.
Is they're saying, we're not going to try to take over because other leagues have done it.
We don't want to poach your players.
Season.
You can be a fan of the Chicago Bears and the Chicago Enforcers.
Exactly. And in theory, depending on contracts, this is still up in the air, but depending on contracts, in theory, your players could play in the XFL in the offseason. And so contracts are weird.
I don't think teams would let that happen, but yeah. Maybe second string, but you're not going to see Mahomes.
Yeah. And develop.
Yeah.
Kind of like I don't know, in the MLB or in
I think,
NBA,
but I think that the risk exists too much for players to play in a different league.
Hot tubs.
If you get injured in the XFL,
true.
That's what I'm thinking.
You're not wrong.
That could affect your contract with the NFL. There's a lot of I'm excited to see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty interesting that this is going to be a thing, and the players during the off season again are working at cafes, so that's fun to see them. And you'll walk into Subway and be like, "Hey, I play for the XFL. Would you like an XFL?" And it's really exciting to see that. Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, it's exciting to see that in 5 years it's going to be the XFO,
What's that?
Which is extreme female objectification, because they're gonna bring back the bikinis, people,
the bikini bra,
right. Or XFO is extreme fiddle off,
Oh,
it was there.
I saw that.
Yeah, you saw the FO, but you didn't get the female objectification. I almost didn't either. Objectification's a hard word. But you know that they're going to try to bring back those bikinis and strippers.
Bring them back.
And then,
And then the rest is history.
And then instead of the national anthem, they play fiddle music. It's pretty great. So they play Smash Mouth's All Star.
Yes.
With fiddles.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Things I Learned Last Night. If you want to watch more, you can click on one of these, or you can click one of those buttons down here somewhere to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you can get some notifications next time we post some stupid videos. If you like the way I laugh, watch some more videos because you'll hear more.